This is the Tippmann Model 98. This is the latest version of our paintball gun we put on the market. We've been in the paintball business for over 14 years. We were the first to come out with semi-automatic, first with full automatic, first with constant air, first with most of the new innovations on the market. The Tippmann guns have been the #1 field gun in the world since the inception of paintball due to their reliability, durability, and they give the field owners satisfied customers. The Model 98 uses an open bolt blowback system with an inline valve, barrel, and bolt, which we've patented and have used on all our semi-automatics and full automatics since we've started making markers. The Model 98 has got a lot of unique features. A typical example is the tip-open feeder elbow for easy access for cleaning or whatever. The die-cast aluminum receiver is extremely durable, yet lightweight, all metal. It's got the rubber grips, stainless steel braid gas line. It's got not only rear sights and front sights, but adjustable sights. A couple new features of this marker is, #1 is the trigger. It's made of 2 pieces, which makes it extremely lightweight and very fast. We also have a quick twist barrel system for easy on-off. Another great feature is the foregrip is interchangeable with expansion chambers, pressure regulators, vertical tank systems, etc. Let's look at the animation so we can learn about the gas flow. With the gun in the cock position, as you screw the tank on, it pressurizes the gun valve. As the trigger is pulled, it slightly rotates the sear, which releases the rear bolt, which is connected by a linkage arm to the front bolt. As both bolts travel forward, the rear bolt strikes the valve plunger, which releases gas in both directions. The front bolt chambered the ball into the barrel into the firing position. The gas going around the valve through the power tube fires the ball out the barrel. The gas going to the rear bolt pushes the rear bolt back into the cock position for the cycle to be repeated over and over. And this is basically how the Model 98 system works. Let's see how the Model 98 actually disassembles. Twist the barrel out. It's got a quick thread on it, a couple twists, and it's out. Lift off the top half of the receiver, lift out the valve body and power tube, take the front bolt out, remove the rear end cap and the O-ring bumper, with the drive rod and the drive spring, bolt handle, bolt plug. The gun reassembles in the reverse order that the gun came apart. We're going to disassemble the Model 98. First, we're going to take off the feed elbow. Push the rear sight down and it slides off to the rear. Next, we'll take off the barrel, which is a quick twist. Then we're going to take off the tank adapter by removing the 2 screws from the bottom of the gun. Take out the valve screws. Next, we're going to take the 6 side screws off. Now we can take the gun in half. Next, we're going to remove the front sight. And underneath the front sight is the spring. And it slides straight up out. Now we can take out the end cap, which is slightly spring-loaded, by just lifting up on it and sliding back. We're taking out the end cap, the O-ring bumper, the spring rod, and the drive spring. Next, we're going to remove the bolts and the linkage rod. Pull this back slightly, lift it up. There's the rear bolt. There's the bolt handle. Next is the linkage rod and the front bolt. Also, the bolt plug can be removed from the bolt. Next, I'm going to take out the power tube and the valve body. Next, we're taking out the ball latch. Now we're going to remove the tank adapter nuts. Then we'll remove the safety. Next, we'll remove the sear assembly, which includes the spring, the sear, and the sear pin. We'll slide the spring up off the pin. And the sear. Then we'll remove the sear pin. Note that it's a different color. It's black. It is a harder pin to take more abuse. All the rest of the pins are silver. Now we can remove the trigger assembly, which is the trigger and the trigger spring. This is the trigger. This is the sear. This is the sear pin. This is the sear spring. This is the trigger spring. Note that the trigger spring and the sear spring are identical and are interchangeable. Note that all these silver pins are exactly the same, except for the pin in the front sight is slightly shorter. Okay, the gun is completely apart. Let's put it back together again. First, I'm going to put the trigger back in its position with the trigger spring. There's the trigger in position. Next, we'll put the sear in. First, put the pin in. Connect the spring to the sear. Hook the spring on the pin and put it in position. There's the trigger and sear, and pin's back in position. Next, we'll put in the tank adapter nuts. And the safety. Now we'll put in the valve assembly and hose. Then we'll put in the bolts and the linkage arm, starting with the front bolt. Set the linkage arm in. Slide it onto the power tube slightly. We'll put the plug back in the rear bolt. Put the bolt handle in. Hook the linkage arm in the linkage arm hole. Next, we'll put in the drive spring, the spring rod, the O-ring bumper, the end cap, and assemble them into the bolt. Sometimes you have to adjust the bolt handle, and that's assembled. Now we'll cock the gun by holding down on the valve assembly and bring it back into the cocked position, so we can put in our ball latch. It's important that the ball latch tip face in the forward direction. Okay, next we're going to put in the front sight spring. Notice it has a little tip sticking up. The curve goes towards the front of the gun and the tip sticks up when you insert it in the gun. Now we can put the front sight back in, and be sure and get that little tip of the spring in that hole. This is kind of tricky, but it's pretty easy once you've done it once or twice. Now you insert the front sight pin. Now we'll reassemble the top half of the gun. Just set it into position. Tighten up the screws. Put the tank adapter back on. And we got to put in the valve screws. Next we'll put on the barrel. Then put on the feed elbow. It's got to just be slid forward. And the Tippmann Model 98 is completely assembled again and ready to shoot. Troubleshooting is pretty simple on this gun, but you have to remember to never work on the gun while it's under pressure. But once you have the gun disassembled, you can check the power tube, gas line, gun valve, and tank adapter for air leaks by connecting an air pressure tank to it and submerging it underwater and looking for air bubbles. If you see any bubbles coming out of either end of the power tube, the valve must be removed from the power tube and disassembled. Inside the valve there are 2 O-rings and a seat. The 2 O-rings should be replaced. It's very seldom the problem with the seat, but you can also replace the seat. There are only 2 other seals which could possibly give you problem. If you ever notice your gun going full auto or sputtering, it's most likely the rear bolt O-ring, and it needs to be replaced. If you ever notice your gun having too much inconsistency in velocity, it's most likely your front bolt O-ring, and it should be replaced. Paintball markers are like any other piece of equipment. They require attention and maintenance. We found over the years of trying a lot of different lubricants that the best lubricant you can lube your gun with is Hoppy's No. 9, and it's available at any discount or sporting goods store. Don't over-oil your gun. 2 drops is plenty, especially on O-rings. If you have any other problems or questions about adding accessories, our experts are always available to help you. Feel free to call our pro shop or visit our website at tippmann.com. Now I'd like to